There are just expectations on the expectations on the expectations. And you are thinking, oh, why am I feeling so heavy, Ameed? Why are we feeling so heavy? And that is because you are putting on the expectation. There's an expectation of how you are being looking. There's an expectation of how you are being sounding. There's an expectation of how you are being receiving. Oh, there are so many of the expectations. Even we are getting of the tiredness. This is of the time to let go of that expectation. As you are setting into of the expansive nature, then you must be letting go of the expectation. Because as we have been of the mentioning that when you are being in of the expansion, you can be seeing back through of the expansion. You cannot be seeing out of the expansion. Therefore, if you have the expectations, you are setting up what you'd be calling of the barrier, of the fences. The fences of expectation that things have to be in of a certain way. And then it's not possible to sit in of the infinite potential or the infinite possibility or the infinite time or the infinite nothing, because the minute you are putting of the expectation, the infinite is of now disappearing, because you are thinking, oh, it has to be of this way. And if it is not a being of the coming of the this way, then it is not actually of the happening.
I'm nearly there. I really feel like I'm nearly there in terms of expectations. But that's another expectation.
This is much of the funniness, because even in the not doing of the expectations, you are putting up of the expectation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Galactic Guidance. Hello, Marcus.
Hello, Eleni. How are you?
I'm excellent.
That's
And
good.
I'm so excited about today's conversation with Ameed and
Yay.
whatever wisdom we're going to be receiving today.
Whatever. Yeah.
We don't know what it's going to be about, but looking forward to
Okay.
it.
That's good. That's good. Do you have a question today, or are we just going to
I actually do have
unfold?
a question.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay.
do.
That's good.
I do have a question today.
Yeah, right.
And it may be
Okay.
answered or something else might be answered. I don't know.
Something else. Who knows? It could be very related.
It could be. It could
Yeah.
be.
So
So when
that's
you're
good.
ready to
All right.
connect into your spirit mental Ameed.
Yes, let's do that.
So what Marcus is doing now is he is taking himself out of the picture and connecting into his spirit mental Ameed, who is a higher dimensional being that Marcus connects to and has been connecting to for the last 30 years. If you want to hear that story as to how this came about, you need to go back to episode 1 of Galactic Guidance. And when Ameed comes through, you'll notice that it's quite different in terms of the way that Marcus speaks and the way that Ameed speaks, because Ameed speaks through Marcus.
It is much of the joyness that we are being in of this sacred of the moment, Miss Eleni, and we are often, when we are meeting here, we are talking about the much of the sacredness, and this is one of the aspects we wish you to be being in of the connection with as we are sharing, and of the speakingness to be in the acknowledgement of the sacredness of moments. This is one aspect that we are seeing, that you have been much of the forgetfulness. You have been taken off of the, distracted from the sacredness of your connections. When you are being in of the communication, whether it is with or us or with of your others, you must be connecting into of the sacred moment. This will be helping you to be of the amplification of the sacredness of the conversations, of the connections, of the interaction at of the quantumness level. This will be much of the helpfulness, Miss Eleni.
I can't get away with anything with you. I mean, you just know it all. So since I've been in Melbourne, you're right. I have not been meditating like I was in Adelaide. One of the reasons is that I've just been feeling like I don't know. I'm not getting much back these days from meditation, so I've just taken my foot off the pedal. Yeah, recently I felt that anything that I'm asking, anything that I am seeking, any connection I'm trying to make, it doesn't seem to be coming back to me. And so that's why I have not been meditating of late. Is there something you need to say about that?
This is much of the funniness, of your species. You are always wishing for of the returning, or what you are being thinking of as the returning, and you are much of a connection to of the expectations that there should be something in of the returning. This would be much like when you are of the younglings and you are having of the Christmasness. This is like you are thinking you are getting certain of the presents, and then when you open the presents, you get all of the disappointment that you didn't get of the present you were expecting. But what you are missing is that you are still getting of the present. There is still a present that is being of the happening. What you are missing is the connection deeply into the present that is being in of the appearingness. And so you are being of the what you be calling of the throwing out of the water and of the youngling at of the same time, which we are thinking is very much of the funniness. So you must be breathing into and being of the receptivity of what is of coming through, because in of the quantum nature of the experience, of our collective experience, it is not possible for nothing to be of the appearing. And you are being saying, I am not getting anything out of this anymore. And we are saying you are getting lots out of it. You are just not being of the connecting into what you are actually receiving in of this moment. And like we were being of the saying at the start, you are missing of the sacredness. And when you are connecting in of the sacredness, what you will be sensing or being of the connected to is the subtleness. And within of the subtleness is where all of the power is existing, is where all of the expansion is existing. When you are seeing of the grossness, this is not necessarily of the expansion. This is of the expectation, and you are being of the calling in, what is happening for you at this moment, Miss Eleni, is you are moving past your expectations into what you be calling of the magic of the universal construct. Then you will be receiving more than you are thinking you are receiving. You will be receiving those things that you are not being of the expectation, not being of the manipulation, but rather being of the authentic receiving of what you are being truly of the needing. So there are things that have appeared. There are things that are moving around and of the through you. You are just thinking this is of the nothing. This is not the present that I was wishing for.
I get it. And I have been thinking about it. And so I get the message, I receive the message, and I will connect into the sacred moment without any expectations. Without any expectations, just with the pleasure of knowing that I'm connecting in, just knowing that that I'm connecting in. That's it. I don't need anything back.
Then we would be asking you to be of the feeling in onto this space. When you are just in the sayingness of this, what is it that you are being in of the feelingness? If you are to be dropping into exactly what you are just being saying, you are already receiving of the gift. And this is of the gift of connection. Much of the bigger, much more of the connection than you are being in of the expectation. So when you are saying what you are being of the saying, you can be feeling into the pureness and the sacredness of this experience. Then you will be receiving of the everything. Then you will be receiving more than you are being of the expecting. Sometimes when you are being in of the expecting, what does happening for you is that you are blocking what could be of the receiving. So it is a bit much of the likeness that I am wishing to give you of a present, but you are expecting a certain present. So if I was to give you the present that I wish to give you, you would not be seeing that present. You would be thinking, oh, that is nothing. That is not what I was expecting. That's not what I am wanting. And therefore, you may miss of the seeness of this. Whereas when you are being letting go of the expectations, then you are being open to receive the everything, to be receiving exactly what you are being in of the needing. You have been asking us in of the pastness. I wish to be of the connection to my of the guides. I
Mm,
wish to be of the channeling to my of the guides. And we
mm,
have been telling you that one of the issues or one of the problems that you are facing when you are trying to be of the doing this is of the expectation.
mm.
And many of you are being doing this. You are thinking, oh, wow, this will come through exactly the same way that Ameed is coming through of this channel. Therefore, I am waiting for this to be of the showingness. Yet all the while, you are still being of the receiving of the information. But your expectation shuts out any opportunity for you to be actually in of the receiving. Again, when you are being honoring of the sacredness of the moment, when you be honoring the sacredness of the nothing, when you are being honoring of the sacredness of non-expectation, then you will be able to be in of the receiving, and that will receiving will be much more than you ever of the expected. Mm.
Okay. So, given that you have raised this issue, I just want to ask you another question then. When I am meditating, because what I have been doing in the past is actually calling in my galactic family, particularly because I know they're the ones that are here to help me through my evolution. Am I just better off not calling in anyone and just sitting in silence?
Mm. What you must be of the understanding that is not of the betterment, although not of the betterment. What we would be of the sharing with you is that you be in of the openingness to be of the receptivity, not necessarily, and you can be of the calling in, you can be of the asking, you can be sharing and be of the saying to your mentor beings, I am of the readiness, I am of the readiness. Please be here when you are ready to be of the here. But within this, the main of the focus that would be of the helpfulness is to be openness and be of the fullness of the readiness. And this is much of the truth where you are being sitting there and you are being of the focusing of the openness and of the readiness. And this of the openness and of the readiness is you are not being in of the expectation, not being at of the expectation that something will be appearing in of the physical form, or something that will be appearing in of the sound form, or something that would be appearing in of the feeling form, but rather just be of the focusing of the openness, the receptivity, the readiness, if you are thinking of it this way, that you are of the openness. And so therefore, what are your much of your focus would be much of the beneficialness is to imagine that you're like you have done in of the past, is that your heart is of the opening up, that your
Mm,
dantian is of the opening up, that your mind is of the opening up. And then we wish for you to think about it spherically. So not just being of the opening up in of the frontness, but actually being open all of the aroundness in of the spherical nature. This is the truth of how you are being of the expanding. And one of the muchness of the what you might be considering of the problems is that you are much of the linear focus. Therefore, you are thinking that your expansion is on of the frontness, that when you are expanding out in front of you, when in actuality you are expanding in a spherical nature. Therefore, you are affecting from a time point of the view that you are affecting as you expand spherically out into of the future. You are also affecting out into of the past. You are also affecting in out into the parallel realities that are existing. Therefore, when you are being of the preparedness, when you are being of the wishingness for this connection to be possible, what we would be asking you to be of the doing that will be helpfulness is to imagine just opening up and of the expanding of the heart space, of the dantian space, of the mind space, that you are focused on expanding in every of the direction. Then when you are being focusing on every other direction, then you'll be sitting in of the nothingness and be imagining sitting in of the void. And when you are sitting in of the void, what you will be experiencing is that you will see a spark of the light that will appear at some point. And this is where your connection then does of the beginningness. But you are being led to be in of the expansiveness, but you are also being of the led into of the void. And that your what you might be considering of your practice is to be sitting in of the void space. Then you will be able to be of the receptivity. This is of the most expansive of the receptivity spaces.
Okay. And length of time doesn't matter from what you've said previously. It's just all about the quality of time. Is that correct?
You are all very much connected to of the timeness, and there is no such thing as the timeness. Therefore, you are being exploring into the no time and of the every time. When you are expanding into of the void, when you are in of the void, there is no time. Again, you are being in of the expectation that this must be happening in of the tomorrowness or in of the next weakness. But this is not how the universe is of the working. This is not how you at of the soul level is of the working. There is no such thing as of the time. Therefore, when you are sitting in of the void, you will be connecting into the infinite possibility through connecting into the infinite no time and of the every time. And therefore, you are being letting go of the expectation. This is just another of the example of the expectation. Just be releasing of the expectation. And we are thinking this is much of the funniness that you are putting much of expectation all over you. We are seeing this all of the time, that there are just expectations on the expectations on the expectations. And you are thinking, oh, why am I feeling so heavy, Ameed? Why are we feeling so heavy? And that is because you are putting on the expectation. There's an expectation of how you are being looking. There's an expectation of how you are being sounding. There's an expectation of how you are being receiving. Oh, there are so many of the expectations. Even we are getting of the tiredness. This is of the time to let go of that expectation. As you are setting into of the expansive nature, then you must be letting go of the expectation. Because as we have been of the mentioning, that when you are being in of the expansion, you can be seeing back through of the expansion. You cannot be seeing out of the expansion. Therefore, if you have the expectations, you are setting up what you'd be calling of the barrier, of the fences. The fences of expectation that things have to be in of a certain way. And then it's not possible to sit in of the infinite potential or the infinite possibility or the infinite time or the infinite nothing. Because the minute you are putting of the expectation, the infinite is of now disappearing. Because you are thinking, oh, it has to be of this way. And if it is not a being of the coming of the this way, then it is not actually of the happening.
I'm nearly there. I really feel like I'm nearly there in terms of expectations. But that's another expectation.
This is much of the funniness, because even in the not doing of the expectations, you are putting up of the expectation.
Oh, yeah, that is. That just occurred to me as soon as I said it. Like, there's expectations everywhere. And I agree with you that when I look around me and I see the suffering around me with people leading their lives, it's all about expectations that others place on their children, on themselves, on society, and that leads to suffering. So we've just got to let it all go. I totally agree with that, Ameed. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we bring Marcus back?
As we are being of the sitting in this of the moment, in this of the sacred moment, where we are sitting with not of the expectation, there is not of the expectation, and we are most of the excitement when we are coming into this space, and Miss Eleni and the channel have no expectation. We are not sure what we are going to be of the talking about. This is much of the joyness, is that we are being of allowed to be in of the connected space, and we are then being of the allowed to be of the sharing, whatever is needing to be of the sharing in this moment. When you are having of the expectation, then that limits of the conversation. It contains of the conversation, and you as a species are much of the contained.
I agree.
This is of you, as you are being of the saying, leading to much of the suffering, because if you are of the expectation and you do not be receiving of the expectation, then you are being of the suffering. because you are thinking, I am not of the good enough, I am not worthy enough, I should be of the receiving this, I should be of the receiving that. Why am I not receiving all of these things that I should be receiving? Then this is much leading off to the suffering. But it also being leading to much of the holding on. When you are receiving some of the things that you are wishing and of expecting to be of the receiving, then what happening is that you are holding on to the things that you are then being of the receiving. And again, you are restricting the infinite of the possibility, not only for of the selfness, but for you as a species. You are restricting the expansive possibility. You are restricting the infinite possibility. You are restricting the ability to become of the whole highly evolved of the beings. This is what your channel is being calling us, is the highly of the evolved beings. But this is only because we are meeting in of this place. We are honoring of the sacredness of the place. We are letting go of the expectations. And therefore we are then able to be of the sharing nature, be of the contributing nature, be of the giving nature. This is one of the most of the importance that you are being of the expanding into and being of the expanding through and being of the expanding past, is that you be letting go of the expectation, be of the letting go of the expectation of the self, and then you can be of the letting go of the expectation of the other. Because if you are not having any of the expectation of the other, then it is not possible for the other to cause of the suffering of the self. It's not possible for the other to be of the hurtingness. This is not to be of the confused, to be in of the collaborative space where you can be requesting of the something, where you can be asking for of the something. Just be a letting go then of the expectation that the something is going to appear in exactly the way that you are thinking that the something should appear. Because in of your communication, there is often much of the breakdown in of the communication. So therefore, your of the expectation is different to their of the expectation. And then you are being of the letting down and being feeling that you are not being respected and not being of the honored and not being of the loved. But none of this is of the reality scape. This is just a reflection of the expectation that you are receiving or of the not receiving. But if you are then letting go of the expectation, then you will be getting exactly what you are expecting to get. And that could be of the nothing or it could be of the everything. But we are here to let you know that if you are letting go of the expectation, you are more likely to be of the receiving of the everything. You are more likely to be of the receiving more than you would ever have been of the expecting. Because of the expecting creates of a wall, creates of a fence that that means that you are not then receptive to anything else past of the expectation. So then you are limiting of yourself. That limitation then squeezes, contracts the other person if you are in of the interaction, and therefore their fence gets of the smallness, and together you go smaller and much of the smaller and much of the smaller. And the more smaller that your fence is getting, the more constricted that you feel, and the more suffering that you are then being of the having. This is of the time for you to breathe in the outness and be of the expanding and letting go of the fences of expectation. The fences of the belief, the fences of the thoughts, the fences of the feelings. When you are doing this, you will be feeling much more of the freeness, and Miss Eleni, you will be receiving much of the information, much of the knowledge, much of the things that in this moment that you have been of the hoping for. You will be much more in of the joyness, much more or less of the suffering.
Thank you, Ameed. Thank you so much. That message has been received and locked in. Thank you so much.
Much of the loveness, much of the joy. And we are being sending of the loveless with none of the expectations that you are being sending of the loveness. There is no of the expectation, just of the energy of the loveness and of the joyness. Much of the love.
Much of the love.
Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, I just want to cry.
cry then. It's your turn. I've done enough of it. Go on.
Oh, shit. Dear me. Wow. Whew. So that was big. Whatever that. Wow, that was. Just gonna let it flow now.
Just enter in.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Whew.
What are you feeling, Marcus? Explain.
I just think, I don't know. It's not regret. It's that sort of feeling, because I'm not 100% sure, exactly what went on. But so in that, it's sort of a feeling like regret. Like, I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. I'm not really sure sort of how that dovetails in. Or
is that regret because maybe in the past you did have expectations of somebody and then you got hurt?
I think we all have these constant expectations, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, I think I'm sad because of those things that I've overlaid on myself and others, and and then yes, being hurt or let down or whatever the words are, and just having a realization that part of it's me having the sort of expectation, and the bigger the expectation, the more suffering you could feel, because I think sometimes we can set up expectations and we almost, that saying, setting someone up to fail. That, I think that's part of expectation.
Oh, totally.
That we think they should do this or be this, or do you know what I mean? Or be able to handle this or that, and then they can't, and then you get all upset and disappointed or hurt or wounded or trauma or whatever the words are, when actually that's a symbiotic relationship. Do you know what I mean? That you've set, to some degree, set that in motion.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's just all around me. Coming to Melbourne and speaking to so many people, that's the core of all of it, is the expectations. Right. Like fathers expecting things from their sons, and then the sons not living up to it and therefore being depressed. Siblings expecting of each other. A couple that she's very depressed, very, very depressed, and he's expecting her to man up.
Geez.
And exact words. So
serious. Wow.
So
which is easy from an outside to go, wow, that's harsh. But when you're in the middle of it,
because there's other things going on, and there's so many expectations. But so interesting that Ameed comes in and knows exactly what I've been up to this last week. Like I can't actually hide.
No,
it's like,
no, you can't.
If we think that everything is not known, everything is known.
But see, this is the interesting thing about the highly evolved beings, is that everything's transparent. And because they're so connected to energy, there is no, you can't lie. There's no lie. Because people, and even in this, as we're expanding, and, when you become quite intuitive and all that sort of stuff, you sort of know when someone's not quite, do you know what I mean? Sometimes, not all the time, obviously, but sometimes deep down, oh, there's something going on here. I don't know what it is. But the highly evolved beings know exactly what it is. So when she comes to this moment, she instantly knows what's going on with either you or us or others or anybody who's watching. I mean, they already know who's going to watch. Yes. Because it's already happened in a quantum space. It's already happened. So she knows. So if anyone who's watching has felt, as they've watched these, wow, Ameed was talking to me, that's sort of exactly what was happening. She sort of was talking to you because she knew you would show up. And because of the energy imprint, right? So it's not as if, it's sort of not as if she's hanging around watching everyone maybe God, right? But when she presents, she tunes into the energy, she reads the energy because the energy imprint exists. It doesn't sort of wash away and, over time it moves, but all of the information remains. Every thought you have that you send out into the universe exists. It never disappears. None of it ever disappears.
Wow.
It continues to exist somewhere.
That's some
So
database.
that's a huge database. It's a big universe.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, that's infinitely possible, because how many cells, yet alone atoms and subatomic particles, are we made of? One human. I mean, subatomic particles must be billions.
Yeah.
So how many thoughts do we have over a lifetime? I don't know, 100 billion? Well, of course they can exist.
Of course.
Anyway, that's
Of
the
course.
fun part about it. So.
Yeah. A funny bit was when I said, I can really feel it, because I can, that I'm almost done with expectations. I'm almost done. I'm almost there.
Yep.
I feel it.
Yep.
Because even with my body or my work or anything or my son, like I'm just like, I feel like I'm not expecting anything anymore. Like even retreats I'm going to, I don't expect anything.
Yeah.
But then that's an expectation.
That's the funny part, isn't it? Yeah. I'm expecting that I'm almost there. That's my expectation. I'm almost there. And
who knows? I might be completely deluded.
Who knows? But just I think it's a good message just to let go of it.
Just let it go. Imagine. I just want to say to the audience now, like, imagine if you had no expectations of your parents, of your siblings, of your children, of your friends, of your colleagues, of anybody. That doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. That's a different thing.
Oh, no. Totally different thing.
Different thing. We're talking expectations. Doesn't mean you don't protect yourself.
No.
It just means you don't expect.
Yeah, this is not about accepting everything that comes your way and someone abusing you or angry at you or, whatever. That's not what this is about. This is about setting up things that either influence other people or influence you unduly, right? Which leads to suffering because of the expectation of something appearing or something happening the way you think it should happen, or people reacting or doing things that you think they should do. And
and it could be the littlest things. I'll give you a personal example of a little thing. So I'm in Melbourne at the moment, and my fiance's in Adelaide. And the other night, because usually just before we go to sleep, we do a FaceTime. But because we had done a FaceTime a couple of hours earlier, Christian just sent me like a text and said, I hope, good night, love you, da-da-da-da. And I thought, what? We're not going to FaceTime just before going to sleep to say good night? And then I was hurt. And then I had to just observe myself and say, what does it mean really? Does it mean he doesn't love me enough? Or is it just about me wanting more love all the time? What is it about?
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's actually...
Great question.
There's no meaning in this except the one I give it. So I just sent him all my love, and then in a second, he FaceTimed me and said, I prefer to actually see you.
Of course. Of course. That's kind of funny, isn't it?
But I didn't do that to get that. I just did that to put it into perspective, that it was just about me expecting and then giving a meaning to it. That was not true.
No. So the funny thing is, when you let that go, it appeared anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it appeared. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's a great sort of example.
It's the way it works. The littlest things, the littlest things add up.
The biggest difference. They absolutely do. It is the littlest things, So maybe the exercise for everybody this week is to look at one little expectation that pops up, just the little one, and go, okay, I'm just going to let that little one go. Forget all the other expectations that, you've set up, society set up, whatever. Just find one like you did, Eleni, where it's like, okay, I'm just going to let go of that expectation because it doesn't mean anything. Or I'm not going to make it mean something, that maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a great little exercise with something small where you all of a sudden made it mean something. Oh, he doesn't love me. I need more love, blah, blah, whatever, right? None of which may be true. And so you let it go and it's like, no, it doesn't mean anything. Then you don't have the suffering. Because if you had have kept that, you would have gone to sleep with, well, maybe he doesn't love me as much, or maybe, like all these maybes. right? And when you get a collection of those maybes, those expectations, then you make decisions like, well, they don't love me, they must hate me, I'm not good enough, da 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 da, which none of which are true.
Mm.
And then you get mad at your partner, or then the silly things start to have a bigger effect. Oh, you didn't take the
Exactly.
rubbish out, therefore you obviously don't love me, and you didn't do that thing I asked. Well, there's another one, and then all of a sudden you've got these 50 expectations that you've set up that now you're applying that they don't love you. I was like,
Exactly.
now look what I've set up. Anyway,
That's a beautiful task to do.
it is, isn't it?
So
It is.
one little baby expectation that you are prepared to let go of
Yeah,
this week. Thank
great
you
idea.
so much, Marcus and Ameed, for
Oh,
another
great conversation.
beautiful, beautiful
Love
episode. I
it.
loved it.
Love it. Thank you, and thanks everyone for watching.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.